has a very interesting story here on the Steelers that just developed, which, it's something we've talked about for a couple of weeks, and it happened. So sports makes us very emotional. It makes me emotional. I mean, I'm watching the Saints and the Vikings. It's crazy, right? I go online, I watch all these videos on the internet, people in Minnesota going nuts. Sports makes us really emotional. I mean, none of us would doubt that, right? We have our favorite teams and our least favorite teams and whatever. And great moments make us lose all perspective. So it's like alcohol. A little bit of alcohol makes you fuzzy a lot, and you lose all perspective. A little bit of sports makes us fuzzy. Highly dramatic moments make us lose all perspective. I'm hearing all this stuff about the Minnesota Vikings. I mean, they gotta re-sign Case Keenum here. Oh boy, this guy Okay, here are the 6 free agent quarterbacks of note in the NFL this offseason. Garoppolo, Breeze, Kirk Cousins, Case Keenum, Teddy Bridgewater, Sam Bradford. Yeah, 3 are Vikings. If they hit the market today, Jimmy G, because of his age and upside, would be number 1. Breeze would be number 2. I mean, he's obviously the best, but there are some teams that would perhaps pass. I don't think there's many, but I would say Garoppolo on the open market, because you get 13 years with him, would be 1, Breeze 1A. Kirk Cousins would be the 3rd. Case Keenum maybe is the 4th. So in a free agent market that's not offering much at quarterback, he's 4th. And I say 4th at best. Some may take Bridgewater. Some may take Bradford, although he's often hurt. Case Keenum is 6 feet tall, 210, with average feet and arm. His mobility is meh. His arm is meh. In NFL history, one quarterback at 6 feet, 210, with average mobility and an average arm has been a star, Drew Brees. And he is the most accurate thrower in league history. Like Case Keenum, he's not Drew Brees. But as I say this, I wouldn't franchise Case Keenum. Because of that game, I think there's a chance that teams will overpay for Case Keenum, a 6 foot, 210 undrafted quarterback. Because sports makes us fuzzy. A lot of highly emotional sports moments make us nuts and lose perspective. So the Minnesota Vikings front office is smart enough to put together this roster, which is the best overall roster in the NFL, in my opinion, and in many opinions. But yet you think, and they are clearly not in love with Keenum, you think they're whiffing on the quarterback position. They built the whole roster. I mean, they've got 4 quarterbacks right now on the roster. That's a pretty good indication. They're not really sure about Case Keenum. See, this roster built by the front office that you know is smart. If they pass on Case Keenum, there's a reason. They should pass on Case Keenum. You're going to go into a division with Aaron Rodgers the next 5 years. You're going to play him minimum 10 times. The best quarterback talent probably of my life. And you're going in with average arm mobility, 6 feet, 210 Case Keenum, who, when surrounded by a good coach and an unbelievable roster, tremendous wide receivers, and the best defense in football, maybe outside of Jacksonville, maybe not, with a huge, they say, 4th best home field advantage. That's what Vegas says now. You're going to sign him up. It is amazing what a fluke play can do to people. Come on. It's like Miracle in Minnesota. Remember Miracle on Ice? We beat the Russians, and people in America went crazy. It's probably the biggest sports moment of my life. And we beat the Russians, and we had a goalie named Jim Craig. Jim Craig was not an NHL goalie. Nobody thought he was. He wasn't an elite world-class goalie. But he won that game, and he got drafted by the Atlanta Flames. And I think in his career he played for 4 teams in 30 games. I'm not sure how many he started. People went crazy. Miracle on Ice. Miracle in Minnesota. Case Keenum's a great kid. I think he's the best backup quarterback in the league. But you got to be kidding me. Like these people, I'm reading stories now. You got to franchise him. Not a chance. We see this every year in March Madness. Because we tend to root for the underdog, right? Undrafted guys. Jimmer Fredette, BYU, little guy, shoots a lot. Oh, my God, Buddy Hield, a senior. Oh, my God, have you heard his story? Shabazz Napier gets hot March Madness. What did I say about Fredette, Napier, and Buddy Hield? These aren't NBA stars. And they're not NBA. Jimmer Fredette, Tim Tebow did this. Tim Tebow beat the Steelers, and America was like, you got to give him a 10-year deal. Nobody's ever talked about this part with Tim Tebow. The following week, they played New England and lost 45-10. Tim was 9 for 26. Yes, when Tebow beats the Steelers, when Jimmer Fredette's great in March Madness, when Jim Craig is great against the Russians, when Case Keenum's part of a miracle play, we all go nuts and lose perspective. Case Keenum's not a guy you build around. He's 6 feet undrafted, 210 average arm, so-so mobility. Nice kid, nice story, great backup, emergency starter. I don't buy for a second you give him a franchise deal. Not for just take a deep breath on this. This Minnesota front office knows what they're doing. There's a reason they got 4 quarterbacks in the roster. They don't trust any of them. They don't trust any of them. They don't want to franchise any of them. Christine with the news.
No. Heard on the news. This is the Herd Line News.
Yesterday, Ben Roethlisberger was on the radio, and he said that the team already, the Steelers, have the pieces in place to win a championship in the future in terms of the roster and even coaching. So here's what he said yesterday.
I go play football, and I play for whoever I need to play for, coaching-wise. And I think that, the important thing is like I said, is we've got a really good group here, and that includes coaches and players. I think we've got a special group, and the least amount of change, the better. That's from players to coaches to everything. We don't want to have big changes because we're right there. We're on the cusp, and we feel that we've got some great things going for us, and that's what we're excited about. So I'm excited for the reason they're coming back.
Least amount of change, the better, except for Todd Haley, I think. I think Todd Haley, he would prefer to have gone. And now there are reports that the Steelers are allowing Todd Haley to walk out of his contract. I think his deal is up, and they're just saying, go ahead. Bye.
Yeah, there you go. So this is what's happened. Is Big Ben, there's been a lot of friction here. Big Ben's been going out publicly and dumping on his staff. And a year ago, Big Ben's like, I'm going to retire. Big Ben didn't want to retire. But Big Ben's like, the owners aren't listening to me, so I'm going to go public to kind of shame the owners. And suddenly, when he hears in the front office, we'll get rid of Haley, they probably told him secretly 3-4 weeks ago, now he's like,
coaching staff's great.
Unbelievable. I love this. Listen, he's still got a problem. I've got it sourced on Tomlin. But in the end, this is a big game behind the game. Big Ben, for years, has had a massive problem with Haley because Haley is a very intense confrontational coach. And we know from Bruce Arians last week that Big Ben doesn't like confrontational bosses. You can yell at Peyton Manning. You can yell at Brady. You can yell at Andrew Luck. Big Ben, according to Bruce Arians, doesn't want to be yelled at. Haley's a yeller. Now he's gone. I think it's good for Pittsburgh.
And now he all of a sudden wants to play for 3 more years.
Of course, yes. Suddenly now retirement, that's outrageous.
The Titans and Mike Mularkey have parted ways, and when the Titans hire a new head coach, this will be Marcus Mariota's 3rd coach in his first 4 seasons, which is quite a bit of change for a guy to go through. But the general manager, John Robinson, said that he's not worried about having so many coaches.
Marcus is a pretty resilient guy. He's a very mentally tough guy. He takes a lot from the standpoint of ownership and things. I have zero concern in Marcus being able to adapt and learn and do what's best to get the offense going.
I think when you have a change in leader all the time, it's really hard to have any kind of direction because you have to adapt and adjust every single year. So you're kind of floating on your own, which probably isn't great.
Years ago, there was a quarterback that came into the league from Auburn named Jason Campbell, and I liked him. I thought he was one of those SEC quarterbacks. He didn't want to run around. He sit in the pocket. And I remember saying on the air, I really like this kid. He had 7 offensive coordinators in 8 years. And I'm like, impossible. You just can't. You'd have to be Joe Montana or good. I'm with you. I think change in any business is hard. And unless you're some all-time talent, it's hard to overcome.
Well, and sometimes change is good if it's been the same thing for a long time, but change all the time
is chaos.
It's chaos, yeah. And finally, it is now time for the Real Deal, brought to you by Carl's Jr. and Hardee's number 5 All-Star Meals. Tom Brady and the Patriots play the Jaguars on Sunday afternoon, and Tom Brady thinks that he's going to have to get rid of the ball pretty quickly because of Jacksonville's pass rush.
we've had a good offense. They've had the best defense. And, that's always the challenge for the quarterback to throw. And I think the whole secondary knows it. The linebackers know it. And, they're aggressive. They take chances. There's a reason why they're in this game. I'd say it's certainly the best team we've faced all season. And if we don't play our best, then we're not going to advance.
What was the line on this? 9.5? I think.
That's an unbelievable. I don't believe in wagering myself, but I'm almost willing to bet that 9.5 points.
I don't know if it's changed today, but I think yesterday it was 9.5.
1 hour from now, Christine, I'm going to have my 19 reasons New England's beating the Jaguars.
Why 19?
Couldn't find a 20th. 19 reasons.
Okay.
19 reasons New England will win.
Sounds like a Lady Gaga song.
Christine with the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd Lie News.
He's got 3 Super Bowl rings. He's my friend, Fox NFL analyst. Let's bring him on, Mark Schlereth. I'm going crazy.